seeing British justice respond so quickly made it pretty much impossible not to contrast the response to the riots there and here. The Premier, the Mayor, remember him, and the Chief were all insisting that justice would be done and gave the impression it would move swiftly. All gab and no jab comes to mind. When British Prime Minister David Cameron made the same promise, he clearly meant it and could deliver. I saw the response from the police chief, Jim Chu, last week, clearly playing defense, trying to distinguish between the British justice system and ours. He wasn't very convincing, was he? There have been some thoughtful columns written by people like Stephen Hume and Peter McKnight, mocking critics on talk shows like this that cry out for justice instead of trying to understand the differences between our systems and trying to understand the root causes of angry young men with no jobs and little hope. But that wasn't the case here. At least it certainly didn't seem to be. It seemed to be a lot of privileged kids who were just taking an opportunity to lash out. And no matter how much I read and hear, I don't understand why it takes so long to investigate and recommend charges against some of the rioters who were clearly seen on video, some who've even confessed. Surely, in more than 2 months, some of those people could be fast-tracked for intense investigation. The police know who they are, know where they were for much of the 3 hours in question. Is it time to revert to the system in most other provinces in the country where police lay charges? That's something the Premier could address. Here, the police have to convince Crown that the charges have a strong likelihood of conviction. Then Crown decides. The system is said to make for a higher percentage of conviction. But does it also mean a lot of guilty people walk scot-free without even having to face the courts? Is that what we want? Suzanne Anton, NPA mayoralty candidate and former Crown prosecutor, is in studio with me this morning. Good morning.
Morning, Bill.
Your reaction to my commentary?
Well, the London riots certainly showed in two ways, both in legal accountability and political accountability, how to do it well. In Vancouver, there has been complete failure on both those counts. Gregor Robertson, don't forget, let's get back to the facts here, invited 150,000 people downtown on the 15th of June. Since then, he came out the next day along with the Premier and lots of words about how everybody was going to be prosecuted and dealt with and so on. Since then, Gregor Robertson, the Mayor of Vancouver, has been completely silent. City Hall has been completely silent. There has been no political accountability. There has been no legal accountability. On the political accountability, Prime Minister Cameron, 2 or 3 days later, pulled everyone back from their holidays. They had a full day's debate in Parliament on what happened in Britain. We have not had 5 minutes debate in City Council. You remember the very first day of regular council after the riot, we discussed wheat fields on people's front lawns. There has been no debate. There has been no, council has had zero curiosity about what happened and why it happened. Council has never had the police chief there, not to cross-examine him, not to accuse, but what happened, chief? Did you have enough people? We did not have the fire chief there. What happened, chief? How were your resources? We didn't have the city engineer. We didn't have city staff, and I know city staff were in a very tough position that night, the ones who were out on the street. No curiosity from council, no curiosity from the mayor, no debate, no political accountability, no the buck stops here, no public submission to the Keefe Furlong inquiry. It is a cone of silence from City Hall.
Is it unreasonable to wonder why no charges have been laid in more than 2 months? I mean, I understand that there's an investigation that has to take place. You have to be thorough. You don't want somebody who confesses to breaking a window, but it turns out they were setting stores on fire to simply get away with having broken a window. But surely 1, 2, 3, 5 charges could have been laid to show that there was a determination that was expressed by the Premier and by the Mayor and by the Chief on the day after the riot that justice was going to be done and it was going to be seen to be done.
And as you mentioned, Bill, I am a former prosecutor, so I understand how the system works. One thing I also understand is that the public has to have confidence in the system. And when it's been over 2 months now, nearly 2.5 months, and no charge has been laid, the public loses confidence. And especially as your daughter, I think it was, your son-in-law, were in England and saw how quickly the British system was able to deal with people. Let me say, Bill, the systems are identical.
Well, our system was based on the British system.
Our system is the British system. It's the same standard in court. To be convicted, you're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It is identical. There's some procedural differences and so on, but the system, the test, is identical.
Suzanne Anton is the NPA mayoralty candidate. She is a councillor in Vancouver. You want to be mayor. How would you be different? How would you treat this riot different from the way Gregor Robertson has handled it? Because you've been very critical of Mayor Robertson.
I am extremely critical, and I get more critical as time goes by because of the complete lack of accountability. In the first place, the riot should not have happened. Obviously, it should not have happened. It should have been brought to council. There should have been a proper debate about how to do it and do it right, and make sure all the systems were in place, make sure the police were in place, which was the main problem that night. And, of course, Gregor didn't even know how many police there were on the street.
And the chief wouldn't tell him.
Well, there's a leadership issue there. If I'm the mayor, I'm going to know how many police there are, and I'm going to know that there are enough police on the street. We all know during the Olympics that there was a lot of police, and now in events...
We had police from right across the country.
And we had police from around the region and across the country. But in the follow-up, so in the first place, I would make sure that it did not happen. When things happen that get out of your control, then you be accountable as mayor. The buck stops at your desk. There, as I said earlier, a complete failure of legal accountability, a complete failure of political accountability. No debate at council. The only person from City Hall who has put a report into the Keith Furlong inquiry is me. Now, the only public report. There are secret reports that have gone in through city staff, but nobody has seen them. I haven't even seen them. We have no idea what the mayor's told the inquiry. I think that this inquiry, there's a big cover-up going on at City Hall. I'm going to say it right now, this is starting to look a lot like a cover-up. I don't know what Keith and Furlong are going to be able to say, because I think that the information that they're getting is all going to be completely sanitized. I don't know that, we'll wait and see how much confidence that we can have in their report.
My concern, and I expressed it on the morning after, and you heard part of it with the interview with the Premier, was that this would be dragged out for so long people would tend to forget, that it would become a distant memory. And it's beginning to look like that, although I, for one, will never forget. And I think there are a lot of people who share that view, who are so disturbed and so appalled by what they saw happening on the night of Game 7, that that's part of why there is so much concern about the delay that seems hard to explain. Chief Chu talked last week about the need for the investigation to be thorough. But I have yet to really understand the difference between what the investigation here involves and what the investigation in Britain involved, where they were able to get people into court almost instantly, charges were laid, and some people were given jail terms almost overnight.
A couple of things, Bill. On the forgetting, we shouldn't forget. We must not forget. I was downtown that night, and the sight of those looted stores, it was just a terrible sight. The property loss, but then what we learned afterwards is that there were employees in the back of those stores. They were traumatized. Some of them thought they were going to die. They had no idea if they would get out of those buildings alive. They will not be forgetting this riot. They have not even had a voice. They've had no opportunity to come to City Hall to talk. They've had no opportunity to talk to the mayor. Their opportunity to talk to the inquiry was pretty narrow. They've been silenced.
I want to get some calls. I want to know if people are as bothered by this as I am. Bill, good morning.
Oh, hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. My question is basically, is all this tough talk from the Premier about we're going to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law, and well, how do you do that with 17-year-olds, especially with our justice system the way it's being, and especially...
Bill, a lot of those kids weren't 17.
Well, no, but a number of them were, right? Like, that's from, maybe I'm wrong, but the first guy to step forward was 17 and come public. The guy from Coquitlam...
Yeah, no, I know exactly who you mean. Yes, he was 17, but there were 24-year-olds, there were 30-year-olds, there were 35-year-olds. There were people who weren't kids. So I don't want to focus on one young man.
The first thing you do is get them in front of the judge. And that's the judge's department after that. And some of them may get criminal sentences and some of them don't. We don't need hundreds of brand new criminals, but we do need hundreds of kids, young men mostly, who...
To be accountable.
To be accountable. Maybe they go out and sweep the streets or build things or do something useful. Some of them should have criminal convictions. There's no doubt about that. And there's a lot more that should probably do some kind of community service.
In Britain, they were putting people in jail for extended periods of time.
Did you know that in Britain they've already had their first appeal? Let alone they've had conviction sentence, and they've already had an appeal.
There are people in Britain who think that the response was too tough and that it was too quick. So, I mean, there are two sides to the story, obviously. But this... Carrie.
Oh, thanks, Suzanne, for bringing this up again, and I'm definitely voting for you when you run for mayor. But I anticipated this was going to happen because nothing ever does happen, right? And what the justice system needs to be, I don't know, fixed a little better. And I mean, I was so angry with the riot. I work in security, so we've dealt with stuff like that before. And I guess what my concern is what's going to happen, when the Grey Cup's here.
Good point.
Well, I'm on the Grey Cup committee, Bill, and you can be sure that there's a lot of interest in being secure. One of the things that did not happen on Stanley Cup night was that it was very family friendly. It was not. The Grey Cup, I think, always has had more of a focus on a really broad age demographic, and there will be a focus on that again. And you can be sure that there are a lot of people paying attention to the security. It's going to be a big party in Vancouver. It's the third weekend in November, and it's another opportunity for people in Vancouver to celebrate, and they will celebrate safely.
Can you give us some assurance that there will be more policing?
There's a lot of attention being paid to the security issues. Yes, I'm confident there will be more policing.
Back with NPA mayoralty candidate Suzanne Anton, a former Crown prosecutor, so she has a good deal of insight into how the justice system works or doesn't work. And it's my big concern is that people are just continuing to lose faith in a system because it isn't seen to be working.
As I said earlier, Bill, it is important to keep public confidence in the system, and the delay in these charges being laid, it does shake that confidence. Again, I have to say, where's Gregor? Where's the leadership? Gregor Robertson as mayor, as chair of the police board. You haven't heard him say, I know that, or I'm sure, making sure that Chief Chu has got enough resources. He's put Chief Chu into an impossible position twice now. First on the night of the riot with his small Vancouver Police Department policing a difficult crowd of 150,000 people. Now he's got Jim Chu in a very difficult position again, trying to get the charges laid on the rioters and not offering any public assurance, not making any public statements, public comments. Where is Gregor? He is lost. He is completely silent on both, as I said earlier, the political accountability and the legal accountability.
But what's stopping the police from going to the Crown with charges on at least a few of the cases?
I'm a bit mystified by that, Bill, and as I said, I think as public confidence, all of our confidence would be helped by that. There's no question that there's a quagmire here that for some reason the British don't find themselves in. This may be an opportunity provincially to review how the whole system works. It's too slow. It's hard to know the different elements that lie behind these, but I'm certainly not going to draw any generalizations of disenfranchised youth out of the riots on June 15th.
But that doesn't explain the difference in terms of the speed with which the justice system in the two countries has responded so differently.
It does not offer that explanation at all. And this is where you need the political leadership, and as I said, that's what has failed completely in this case. Gregor Robertson invited this big party downtown and then disappeared, leaving everyone else to clean up the mess.
My thanks to Suzanne Anton. We break for the news to the top of the hour.